If you have driven around Honolulu, you have more than likely seen his artwork. OG Slick is a pioneer in the Los Angeles graffiti scene, but he got his start painting walls in Honolulu. Born and raised in Hawaii, Slick discovered hip-hop culture at a young age, and his spray paint art has led him to a successful career spanning decades. As an artist, he has done it all, from graphic and apparel design to sculpture and even gallery shows. But at the heart of it all is his love for aerosol cans and getting his art up for the public to see.
Can-to-can combat by rivals using paint instead of guns. An artist from Hawaii who goes by the tag name of Slick.
When did I start using Slick? You know, the older I get, I mean, the story changes, you know? But from what I remember, I think even it goes as far back as junior high. And I don't know, I'm thinking like one of the sisters, because I went to Catholic school, St. Elizabeth. And I think one of the nuns was like, I think I got sent to the principal's office or something, and the principal was like, it was Sister Auxiliadora, and she's like, oh, you think you're pretty slick, sir, huh? And I think it kind of stuck in my head, you know? That I think I was trying to be sneaky or something, get out of studying or something, or I forgot what it was, but I think that kind of stuck. And then being my name was Rick, it kind of Slick Rick, you know? My first taste of hip hop, I would say it was back in the day, in the days when we used to pop lock. One of the hotels in Waikiki, they had a teen club there called The Point Before. My father was a cop, so I used to catch ride with him to Waikiki, and he let me go to the club while he works his beat or whatever. And that's where I saw these dancers, and they were like pop locking, you know? And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I was into like miming, as weird as that sounds, you know? Because miming was like popping, you know? Like, because we used to do like the box or like pulling the rope, you know? Those are all like popping moves, but it's also with miming. So yeah, it was weird. I think of my past sometimes. I could have ended up being a mime, you know? The first time I actually saw breakdancing was at a club out here, and I remember Jason Silva, he went down to his hand and then started spinning on his hand, and we were just like, holy, like, you know, that was on some next level, you know? It's like he was spinning on his hand, you know? And then Rocksteady crew came, and they were actually a big influence, you know? Seeing Doze for the first time, you know, him painting on a, I think it was like a bed sheet or something. So seeing spray paint like from a b-boy, like, that was like exciting for me. Because I wasn't exactly the best dancer or best b-boy, especially when power moves and stuff got into breaking. Like, I wasn't that athletic, you know, so I couldn't do all the like backflips and all this, but I definitely could paint my, so I was pulling more towards the artistic side. So my crew is Bomb Squad, you know, and I'll always be Bomb Squad. That was my first crew, you know. It was actually a b-boy crew. We did like performances, like we opened for like Mechanical Masters, like, you know, at events and things like that, and b-boying. But out of everyone in the crew, like, you know, I was like the worst b-boy. So I kind of took it more towards the painting side, because bombing, you know, Bomb Squad, so of course it just lent itself to be more of a painting thing, you know? I was always artistic since I was a child, so I just naturally gravitated to graffiti, you know? Writing my name and writing the crew's name, and then the rest is history, you know? I've been pretty fortunate, knock on wood, all these years to stay one step ahead of the law, you know, as far as my art is concerned. But early on, I realized I could make money with my craft. Rick Ralston from Crazy Shirts was like a advocate for anti-graffiti. And he was on some kind of board to fight graffiti on the island. And somehow maybe he saw one of these news things, whatever, that I was on, and found out that I was slick. he kind of gave me carte blanche at his place and with his art department, and they're like, hey, teach this kid about graphics and how to apply some of that. It was fun with Crazy Shirts because they like the humor, right? They like to do the flips and parodies, which I was always raised on like Wacky Pack stickers. So, you know, making fun of like corporate brands and things like that. So I was doing those flips early on at Crazy Shirts. I had aspirations to be like a photorealistic airbrush illustrator. That's what I was gonna do, you know, or, you know. I knew something to do with art or fine art, but I knew I couldn't do it here on the island. So I made a deal with the folks to stop doing graffiti and go to the mainland and study art. That deal didn't go well because one semester in, I actually met my graffiti crew in LA, Kill to Succeed. So on my lunch break at Otis Parsons, I'd go there to eat lunch and I saw them doing graffiti on the band shell down there. I gravitated towards them because they look like me, you know, because I'm from mixed descent as well. I was like, oh, so they kind of became my family. Graph attracts graph, you know, and during that course of that time, we eat, breathe, and painting. That was our life, you know. Money and all that, school, everything was secondary. Like, we didn't care about that. It was all about getting up and painting. A group that actually showed me love when I first moved to Los Angeles was Booyah Tribe. Hardcore West Coast gangsters, but talented dancers, musicians, early pioneers in that rock, hip hop, mashup, sort of soul, funk. They're way before their time, you know? Well, they used to come for vacation, but they'd come to the nightclubs and dance and battle. And I remember Cobra and them telling me like, oh, Slick, when you come to LA, come check us out. And they were definitely some of the first people I looked up. I did their single, Psycho Funk. I did that cover on Island Records. And actually, I'm in that video too. If you look at the Psycho Funk video, they're supposed to be like in a mental institution. At the end, I'm like spraying a little door and I'm trying to sneak out of the mental hospital. At the time, this guy wanted to battle me, and that's a lot of people know as the Slick Hex battle. And it's actually a really famous battle. Like a lot of people, it took about a week, and people came from miles around. This is way before social media. But people found it, you know, the big Slick Hex battle, you know. And at the end of 5 days, I mean, we didn't even know how to end it because we could have went on forever just dissing each other, you know. We're like, okay, what do you think? What do you think? I was like, do you think you took me out? He's like, no. And I was like, well, I won then. And then this television station hit me up about battling him again on television. And I didn't want to do it because I already took him out. You know, I was like, well, I got nothing to prove, you know, like whatever. And then he was gonna battle somebody else, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, so I'll battle him again. So that's, a lot of people know as the second battle on TV, which I lost, by the way. And yeah, he was way more prepared for me on that one. But apparently that battle touched a lot of lives. You know, it was early, like reality TV kind of, because we were going at it, you know? But from that, the reason why I think that's so important for my career is because from that, I guess some directors were there at the battles. So they're like, oh, we want to recreate that battle in a music video. So right after the battle, I did the Red Hot Chili Pepper Taste the Pain video, where they had Hex on one side and had me on the other side, kind of going at it behind the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then I did another video for like Ice Cube. The Ice Cube video was pretty dope experience, especially because it was, I believe, Ice Cube's first video departure from NWA, you know? So honored to be a part of that one. I painted the LA Hands, I think somewhere in the late 90s. I painted that on a wall, and we ended up taking the LA Hands from that wall and making it into like a little logo. And it just kind of caught on, and people loved it, especially from LA, you know? And also people not even from LA that just loved LA culture. And everybody thought it was Mickey hands, but it wasn't even Mickey hands. It was another character throwing it up. It was like this little, like cholo, like rat throwing it up, you know? But everybody thought it was Mickey because he's the most famous cartoon character that has gloves. You have Bugs Bunny, like Krusty the Clown, like you name it, like gloves and miming, and it just, you know, it all goes hand in hand. No pun intended, but yeah. I'm in a box. But yeah, but the hands, I've always done hands. Even when I was at Art Center, like I was really good at drawing the hands, you know. Not that I couldn't draw the rest of the human figure, but I think the hands spoke a lot, you know, like the gestures, and, you know, you could do a lot with your hands, you know, like, and tell stories, and, you know, I loved it, you know. Powwows, you know, I remember the first one they did without me, and I was kind of hurt. I was like, how are they gonna have a powwow in Hawaii and not invite the slickster, you know? I was like, I'm from here, you know, and you take it kind of personal. And then I think the second year we actually got involved, and you met Jasper and stuff. He was cool, and yeah, it just became a thing to do. Like every year was to come back and paint for powwow, you know, and it was a great excuse to come home and do what I love, is paint walls. We're over here in Kalihi at Palama Settlement for Worldwide Walls. When I heard it was out here in Kalihi at Palama Settlement, I got really excited, you know, because I thought there was a possibility to paint the gym here. The Palama gym is like what the white whale was to Moby Dick or to graffiti artists, you know? It's like the ultimate fame spot. So I actually been eyeing up this wall for years, since the 80s. I was like, oh, that would be mean to have a slick piece on the gym right there, you know? It's just kind of crazy how it came full circle, and I'm actually painting the gym. It's an honor to actually get that spot out of all these amazing artists here. So I'm trying to come correct and do something pretty sick for the community. The concept on this one was the shaka hands turning into the love. Like it's kind of represents coming together as one, you know? Yeah, so to come back here and get the opportunity to paint on this wall is unreal. The feeling is just unreal, you know? Super blessed. I mean, I do all the other, like paint canvases or make sculptures or design things or skateboards or, you know, but nothing takes the place of spray painting. I just love, I don't know, the spray, and I think the motion is kind of like, maybe it's like Tai Chi for me or something, you know, because when you spray it, it's like a lot of like this, and, you know, like when I'm spray painting, I'm in another place. I love it.